All right, now heavy turbulence is something that can be very scary, in fact, but how worried should you be when the plane ride gets really bumpy? We're getting the answer in a Fox Weather special called Truth Behind Turbulence. And host of the special, Fox Weather's Jason Frazier joins us live this morning. Jason, thank you so much for being here. This is such an interesting topic. Turbulence scary for a lot of people. It actually makes people not want to fly in planes. So what exactly is it?
So let me first start off by saying I used to also suffer from a severe fear of turbulence. So I completely understand. And I think for a lot of people, the reason why you fear it is because you can't control it. And on top of that, you don't know how long it's going to last. So you don't see what's going on in the cockpit. And in actuality, pilots train for this every single year. They have to go through a retraining for this. So it's not something that people should fear. Now, all turbulence is just an increase of what we call wind shear, which is a change of wind speed and wind direction against the plane here. So turbulence is actually a good thing because your plane is trying to find some sort of equilibrium with the change of the wind speed as it's hitting the plane here. So it's also important to note here, turbulence has never crashed a plane. So I know so many people, they grip the seats and they're like, oh no, the plane is going to crash.
Yeah.
The plane's not going to crash.
Now, you had a chance to fly in two different simulators, one for United, another with Delta. What did you learn from that experience?
So the first thing I learned was exactly what goes on in the cockpit. So there's a lot of communication that happens between air traffic control and the pilots. And 90% of the time, the pilots can anticipate when turbulence is about to happen. And that's why usually you'll see the flight attendants take their seats, or you'll hear the captain say, ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts because in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, we're going to expect to see some turbulence here. So that was the first thing. The other thing was I learned how they navigate around it. And, it might seem counterintuitive, but, sometimes you may think that, oh, it's better to fly away from the turbulence. But in actuality, in some of the simulators, we actually flew directly into the storm, which was causing the turbulence. And the reason why we did that was because they knew that it would be a shorter amount of time that we would have to deal with that turbulence.
Yeah, Western Washington, home of Boeing. You got to walk through at Boeing's factory to see how planes are built. How did that help you? Because you mentioned here a little bit earlier that, turbulence kind of shook you up on a plane, but how did that calm your fears about turbulence on flights?
So I think the biggest fear that I always had was when you looked out the window and you saw the wings flapping back and forward, and you're thinking, okay, at some point, the wings are literally going to come off of the plane here. But one of the things I learned from Boeing was, in fact, the planes are built to withstand upwards of 150%. So the wings are supposed to be flexible. They're supposed to flex up and down because if they were secured to the plane, eventually they would actually break when they encounter severe turbulence.
Wow. Okay, how can viewers catch your full special here?
Okay, so there's two ways. One, it's going to be airing on Fox 13 this weekend. The other way is you can head to YouTube and just type in The Truth About Turbulence, Fasten Your Seatbelts. It's a great documentary. Of course, I'm a little biased, but one of the reasons why we did this is because so many people say they have a severe fear of flying. And, my belief is, look, as a meteorologist, my job is to help explain things that, quite honestly, are confusing. And I've heard from a lot of people after seeing the special, they said, you know what, now I don't have a fear of flying. So that made me feel good.
What about you? What about you? Do you have a fear of flying now after doing this?
No longer. Honestly, no. No longer because, I know exactly what's going on in the cockpit. I know that air traffic control is communicating with our pilots. On top of that, we also talked with a psychologist about why we fear turbulence. And a lot of it has to do with, as human beings, we like control, right?
Yeah.
And so when you don't have control, there's a natural fear. But the psychologist talked to us about some steps that everybody can take, to limit their fear. I don't want to give away the whole special. I want people to watch the special here. Okay. But
all right.
I no longer fear.
All right. Jason Frazier with Fox Weather. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to see you. Thank you.